All righty, there we are. Good morning to you, everybody. Mark Sudduth here in Wilmington, North Carolina, Hurricane Track on the YouTube and everywhere else. We even have the wintertime Hurricane Track logo, off-season stuff that our friend CJ designed for us several years ago. Got the hoodie on, and it's cold in the office. It's cold here in Eastern North Carolina, cold pretty much everywhere east of the Rockies. And that is what we're going to talk about among other topics. This is Talking Weather, in case you have just tuned in for the first time. Great to have you with me. Today I'll be going solo as our good friend and partner CJ. He's busy today. I want to make sure I've got the YouTube chat readily available to me here, and it looks like I do. So that's great. Good to see everybody. A little bit of banter and just chit chat as I wait for people to log on. They get their notifications or they see this over on the little sidebar on YouTube and think, oh, that thumbnail is interesting. I might click on it and see what's going on with this live show. Good to see you as you come on into the room here. I like to think of this as a bunch of us weather geeks and weather weenies, whatever you want to call it. I'm all for it. That we're all just getting together and chatting and kind of one big community. All right. So what can I? Why does my YouTube keep going away? I want to be able to see it, and it just goes away. That's annoying. Oh well, I'll just every now and then tune into the iPhone there and reprompt the YouTube app to say hello to me. Um, let's get started though. My banter isn't working very well today, so let's just get into the ad-libbing is hard. Actually, going through the slides, if you will, the tabs, much better at that. Won't ever be doing improv comedy, I don't think. Anyway, this is Talking Weather, and as I said, I'm Mark Sudduth in Wilmington, North Carolina, and I'll be with you for the next, I don't know, 45, 50 minutes or so as we go over these topics and probably a few other things. Big ticket snow coming. A lot of people are going to be paying attention to this. The weather definitely has our attention in the lower 48 right now, mainly east of the Rockies, because out in the Rockies and points west, ever since a pretty fast start to winter, including a drought erasing set of rain and snowfall events for California, since that time, once we flipped the calendar over to 2026, west of the Rockies, it's just been rolled up in terms of major weather. But yeah, big ticket snow is coming for parts of the east, especially the Carolinas and Virginia, it does appear. So we'll talk about that. Major power issues still for our friends in Mississippi and Tennessee. Really starting to see a lot of people upset about this. Different issues within some of the power companies themselves, stuff that I'm not well versed in, to be honest with you. So just kind of shining a light on it. That's my flashlight miming there. Just to make people aware that, yeah, our friends in Mississippi and Tennessee are still hurting quite literally in the wake of this last big winter storm and ice storm, and now the cold temperatures are upon us. Record cold for Florida is on the way, and this is going to be a big deal as well. I think on Friday we're going to have a couple of guests to come on, probably an extended show Friday, where we're going to talk about this with a couple people from Florida. And then I'm going to just go over one little thing, physics, undefeated, always. And yeah, wait till you see some of these tabs that I have related to that somewhat humorous, but also can be very serious topic. Keep looking down to see if my cat, Willow, is going to jump up onto the computer table and knock everything over. She's sitting down there just chilling out in that loaf position. If you have a cat, you know what I'm talking about. All right, let's get on with it. National high and low temperatures, one of the first things I like to look at, where I show you some of the areas where these highs and lows happen. We learn some geography and we learn some of the reasons why, not just because it's winter or because it's summer or you have to have a high and a low. Sometimes there are legitimate meteorological and geophysical or geomorphological reasons. A lot of words I'm throwing at you there, but it's not just, oh, it's the weather. Sometimes there is more to the story. All right, that being said, our national high temperature yesterday, Florida, you've been booted. Now it's back over to California, 82 degrees in Yorba Linda. We have anybody in the Yorba Linda area? I'll show you where it is in just a moment, more specifically than where I've got the little sunshine and the thermometer. We'll show you on Google Maps, the street view actually. So yeah, 82 degrees in Yorba Linda was our national high yesterday, minus 20 Crested Butte, Colorado. And I will show you exactly where these places are. First, here's the city limits, the municipality, the boundary line, whatever you want to call it, of Yorba Linda. And if we zoom out to give you more context, it is in Southern California, not too far from Anaheim and LA. So it's down in the LA basin. And it's nice and toasty out that way because there's no trough. Big ridge sitting over the west, and that is helping to keep things dry and warm. So, just to give you a glance in case you've never been to Yorba Linda, what does it look like? And what we do is we grab our little Google Street View guy and drop them somewhere, wherever, just some random spot in the middle of Yorba Linda, and we'll just do it right here. Sometimes it's quite funny what we see. Oh, wow. I guess there's some construction going on. Like I said, sometimes it's funny. Um, I don't know what that's blurred out for, something weird happening there, but it is blurred out. Anyway, this is a neighborhood that we've stumbled across in Yorba Linda, California. I know we do have some of our folks on Patreon that are from Southern California, and they may be watching today. One is in San Diego, I believe, and we have another gentleman, Ron. He's from Southern Cal as well. But pretty area. This Google Street View was done way back in 2025. Seems like an eon ago. But yeah, 82 degrees here yesterday, and this is what Yorba Linda looks like. So I bet you that house is probably $2 million. You know that. You could probably look it up. And I know that Weather Scott, if you're watching, you're just the person that could probably look that up on Zillow. You figure out what road I'm on, and you can figure out what the price of that house is. I'll say it's probably 1.2 million, just guessing off the top of my head. So look it up on Zillow. Let me know. It is 6052 Saddle Tree Lane in Yorba Linda. I'm going with 1.2 million. We'll see. Maybe I'm way over. Anyway, again, this is just a neat little way to show you some of the areas where the weather has an impact. And in this case, probably looked pretty much like that yesterday. Sunny, and it was very warm, at least relatively speaking, at 82. What about the national low temperature? Again, minus 20 in Crested Butte. And you got the ski resort up here at the mountain resort. See these little red lines? I will highlight those in this pink color right now. These are your your ski runs. Had to figure out what the hell the word was for it. So yeah, these are the different lifts and the runs at Crested Butte area. Boy, I haven't been skiing in a long time. That would be fun, even at my age. I could probably still do it. Anyway, this is Crested Butte. Where is it in Colorado? Kind of west central. And with the satellite view here, everything kind of blends together. But it's not too far to the south and west of Snowmass. It looks like you take, what is this highway? 135 up through Almont, sorry, and you're in Crested Butte. So what does it look like on the ground? Well, let's zoom in, and we'll drop our Google Street View person somewhere in Crested Butte, right here on this street, Elk Avenue, I believe it said. Oh, that's pretty. Very nice. Elk, 5th Street and Elk, or something like that, whatever. I was just kind of eyeballing it. But let's move forward and run the stop sign legally. We can get out here and see the beautiful fall colors. This was done back in October of 2021. And we can run another stop sign here legally and try to get out way at the end of this road and get a better view of these mountains. Time travel, yeah, because sometimes you go back in time. There you go. You know, you do. Sometimes it's like, of course, you're always back in time on the Google Street View stuff, but this is back in 2021. Actually, this is 2024. So this is August of 24. You just never know. But yeah, this is the area of Crested Butte, and it is a butte. Haha, see what I did there? A very beautiful area of Colorado and the country. And it was minus 20 there for the morning low yesterday. Yikes. These houses probably also $1.2 million. It's expensive to live in really nice areas of the country, that's for sure. and getting more so. All right, so that's it. Crested Butte, pretty cold air settled in over the area. It's higher elevation, so that makes sense. All right, let me take a look at the YouTube chat and see who all is on with us today. And let's see if we have an answer to what the Zillow is, if anybody looked it up. 1.5 million. I don't know if that's just your guess or if you actually looked it up, but yeah, maybe it is 1.5 million. Anyway, good to see everybody on here. We have Catherine Burkett over in the UK. Some new people on here. I hope the storm comes northwest of the I-95 corridor. Would be ashamed to waste a historic opportunity. PB underscore 7002. We will look at that. All right, we will definitely look at that. I guess we have one of those sidewinder nor'easters coming because you keep hearing will it or will it not. That's exactly right. Great to see everybody on here. I will refer back to the chat every once in a while, but for now, let's move along. All right, one of the bullet points for today's show, major power outages for Mississippi and Tennessee continue. And if we look at the power outage map here from poweroutage.com, it is still rather bleak for these states here. 118,000 people still without power in Mississippi. Tennessee is more than that at 132K. And boy, it is just not good. We can click and zoom in here. Some of the hardest hit counties you can see here in red. And this is from the ice, and it is bad. Really, really bad. Let's go back to the main map and let's look at Tennessee, drill down a bit. Maps are great, aren't they? You can really, I mean, it really helps. And you can see the path of where some of that heavier ice accumulation was. And they are really having a bad time of it. This is a Twitter post that I saw from the old algorithm there. Delta strong, you get the Mississippi Delta. And no, it's not something out in the Gulf of Mexico. It is this area of land from like an old seabed. It's a whole other thing. You got to look it up. The Mississippi Delta. Anyway, it's a regional branding, marketing and business attraction program aimed to bring manufacturing opportunities to the region. I can't talk today. To the region managed by the Delta Council. And I saw this. We know Oxford has experienced an awful storm, but the damage is also epic in towns like Rolling Fork. We certainly know what happened there in recent years. Belzoni, Greenwood, Grenada, however you say it, Pontotoc, or however you pronounce that. I'm probably butchering it. And so many others up to the Tennessee River. Now that the roads are clear, maybe the media can report accordingly. And that's what I'm trying to do, is help shine some light on this, being a little tiny piece of media here on the internet. The roads are not clear. You are full of bleep. Sorry, Philip, you are correct, but the media and social media influencers, they are equipped to move around, so forth and so on. So just an interesting negative side to this winter storm that's still holding on after quite a bit of time has passed. And they're working on it, and this is a really neat shot I see here from the Tennessee Valley Authority using these helicopters. And let me make the shot bigger, so to speak, full screen. No, thank you. Like, seriously. So obviously we have probably a drone taking this shot of the helicopter lineman there. Talking about hazard pay. Like, you had the guy that just recently climbed up on top of the Taipei 101 building, or whatever the heck it's called. Look at the icicles on there too. You couldn't pay me enough. And certainly appreciate what these people are doing, and I hope the people out there do. But look in the distance, all the ice on the trees. And folks, these are major transmission lines. This is the big time stuff, and they are working on this. It is a very dangerous, arduous process. But just a reminder that our fellow Americans are suffering here immensely still. Louisiana, a lot of power outages, and you can see the swaths. Again, this is the main area where the ice did its most accumulation, and then that moves right on up through these areas of Mississippi and Tennessee that I showed you. Not to be outdone, though, don't want to leave out Texas, eastern Texas there. Some power outages still remain at 21,000 customers, and Kentucky at 15,000. So yeah, it still holds on this terrible ice storm for parts of the South and the mid part of the country. All right. So Wanted to show you this. This is part of our Physics is Undefeated. These are not in any particular order, the bullet points, but they're topics that I'm going to get to. So this was interesting and crazy, as it says. I used the Ring camera to look outside a little bit earlier and saw that my car was about 6 to 8 feet down the driveway from where I parked it. I went back to around 3 p.m. and saw it moving down slowly until 6. There wasn't ice into my car, but maybe my passenger side wheels were on the ice. That is pretty wild stuff. So you've seen pictures and video, usually pictures, of snow rollers where the wind will kind of blow balls of snow and then they roll along into looks like a big roll of toilet paper. Um, and you get the weird rocks that move out in Death Valley and just other stuff where it seems like some magical force is moving heavy objects. I would just have to assume that there was just enough ice and that driveway must be on a slant that physics is taking over and that thing is just sliding backwards, the car. Pretty wild stuff. Would be interesting to um, get a, I don't know, physics expert or somebody that's seen this before. You know, it can't be the first time this has happened to somebody, but this is pretty cool. The power of social media that you can share this stuff and we can all kind of marvel at it and see what's happening. Happens in Seattle and Portland, and Oregon often, says this account. Very steep hills in those cities, no sand, salt, or chemicals put on the roads due to the environment. Yeah, stuff is kind of nasty. Even with wheels turned hard into the curb properly with enough ice, gravity still undefeated after all these years, right? Gravity takes over and cars slide down the hills without, come on, don't leave me hanging, hindrance. There we go. Is it a stick shift? Ghosts. Maybe it is. We got to get the ghost hunters out there. Sprinkle salt behind the wheels. Interesting. I looked out my bedroom window one night and my little Honda Civic was way down the hill and straddling a ditch. It did not have a working parking brake. Whoops. Not related to physics necessarily, more life's hard when you're stupid. I'm not calling him stupid, just saying. But yeah, that's really interesting. Pretty cool time lapse usage there from the Ring camera. All right. In Dallas, physics, again, undefeated. I saw this, and let's mute the audio. There we go. So, somebody in Rockwall, Texas, having fun in the parking lot, but they forgot that an object in motion tends to stay in motion until acted upon by some other force, whatever the saying is. Yeah, so have fun out there at the local body shop, maybe. And luckily, you didn't knock over that $10,000 light pole. It's all fun and games until somebody busts their fender. Again, it's physics, okay? You can have fun with this stuff, but, and I know that there's lots of videos of people doing donuts in parking lots, but when you get the vehicle going at that speed, again, they're lucky, especially if that was a vehicle, looks like a modern enough vehicle. That's a Subaru, too. What are you doing messing up your Subaru? Come on. Lucky the airbags didn't deploy, or I think that's pretty much a total loss. So yeah, kind of crazy there. All right. This though kind of spills over into some semi-political podcast giant people, whatever. But I wanted to address this because we seem to have a little bit of an education problem with the weather and physics, and certainly Neil deGrasse Tyson does what he can with his social media to educate people. What does he say? He's your neighborhood astrophysicist or something like that. Your friendly neighborhood astrophysicist, whatever he calls himself. I actually saw Neil deGrasse Tyson in person back in November. Story for another day. So I saw this and I wanted to address it because we do, as speaking of physics, my seat keeps up. There's the cat. All right, Willow, be gone with you. Speaking of physics, my chair keeps sinking because of stupid gravity. All right, so I wanted to address this because we do seem to have this little tiny problem of not understanding simple weather and physical properties of how that weather works. I have done my share of speaking to classes over the years. I had a terrific eighth grade science teacher who really got me into the weather. I had great professors in college and so forth and so on. I had parents that taught me what they knew about the weather, especially my father. And I I don't know. I don't know where we're getting some of this sometimes. And maybe there's just too many of us. Maybe there's too much scrolling and we're just losing simple concepts. So here's the tweet from Candace Owens. Back online after internet blackout. I grew up in Connecticut and have truly never seen an ice like this ever. The temperature is 30 degrees, but the ice on our treetops is not melting at all. Never seen anything like this. Anybody else? And I mean, the community notes are wonderful, but like 30 is below the freezing temperature of water, which is 32 degrees. Um, and Billy here, who is that? I don't know. I just saw this show up. Reporter at Reason covering all things injustice. All right. So Candace Owens has apparently just discovered that ice doesn't melt below freezing. I look forward to the podcast on big thermodynamics. And this is a serious thing. We really have to like focus more attention on basic stuff, like the cat jumping up on my shelf over there. Yikes. Um, yeah, I mean, water freezes at 32 degrees, and why there would be this question of that the ice is still there at 30, it is mind blowing. It is baffling. And Billy goes on to say, in all seriousness, it's pretty sad how many major figures propped up Candace Owens like she was some kind of intellectual. The word grifter is overused, but it was always very clear she was a grifter. And I don't want to get into that part of it, but if you're going to have a giant presence on the internet, as my chair keeps sinking, please have some like normal, everyday common sense about physics and weather. Please. Like, who am I? I'm just a small, tiny, like, flea fart in a hurricane in the big void of some of these podcasters. And so that's where, your Ryan Halls and your Max Velocity and Reed Timmer, people that are huge. Mike's weather page, over 2 million followers on his Facebook. They do the good job 99.9% of the time of emoting this kind of stuff because we need to. And it's just simple education. We're not trying to bang on people or tear them down. This is just mind blowing to me. Like, come on, 32 degrees. Didn't we all know that even as children? 0 Celsius, 32 Fahrenheit. That's when water freezes. I'm gonna have to anybody want to Amazon gift me a new chair? This is sad. All right, let's move on. And oh yeah, so this is funny, related to what I just showed you. Nature is amazing. 36, liquid, 35, liquid, 34, liquid, 33, liquid, 32, ice, 31, ice, but in Miss Owens' world, 30, back to liquid. Now, look, all kidding aside, you can have freezing rain, but that's when liquid rain falls through freezing air and it freezes on contact and so forth. A little bit of humor there. Everything stays cold and frozen except at 30 degrees. All right, so just trying to help. That's all. Not trying to stir any kind of a pot, but I do believe, again, one quick soapbox moment more. When you have a gigantic platform, whomever you are, when you're talking about science and weather and whatever, and that whole thing, stay in your lane, this is my lane. You came in my lane with that misguided 30 degrees isn't freezing thing, so I thought I would address it. All right? All right, let's move on. Now, finally, the map here is becoming less populated with shenanigans. But that doesn't mean that we're out of the woods in terms of shenanigans, cold weather shenanigans. What we have now, unfortunately, in some of these areas that are still without power, uh, and I guess it just disappeared. Let me Yep, so the freezing fog has lifted. It doesn't burn off. But in Texas, the freezing fog is still there. Freezing fog advisory for Northeast Texas. And yes, the air temperature very cold. And let's look at DFW in that area, right in the middle, pretty much right on the airport. 33 degrees, so at least it's coming up. And they did have some freezing fog around the area. Finally, above freezing for the next several days during daytime, and then very cold at night, obviously. Elsewhere, some lake snows, but the lakes are starting to freeze over more and more. In fact, I may or may not have a graphic about that today. I can't remember if I pulled it up or not. But the lakes, Erie is pretty much closed. Still can get little pockets where you do get some lake snows, but the bands are much narrower. The Tug Hill region still have a lake effect snow warning for you guys. If we zoom in on the sad looking radar, sorry, National Weather Service, but radar scopes got you beat. That's just sad. I mean, come on, do better. That's such a great opportunity to have kick ass radar. And it's just this kind of eh. But anyway, that's a snow band, pretty narrow, on Lake Ontario, headed into the Tug Hill region. So just keep your eyes out for that. If you live up there, but maybe you're just traveling through. You're trying to head up there and do some snowmobiling for the first time ever. And you're like, whoa, what are these lake bands all about? Well, you just got to be aware of them. That's the main thing. All right, so we do have a big ticket snow event coming, and I've been wanting to use that headline for a while, and it's coming. In terms of who, when, exactly how much, I don't know. So if you want to turn the show off at this point, you're not going to hurt my feelings. I have no crystal ball. But what I do have is the power of a lot of different people. Like they say, the old expression, between me and my brother, we know everything. Well, I say between me, my brother, and the internet, we know everything. And we can at least figure things out. Not quite everything, but yeah, we do have a big ticket snow event headed our way. And just real quick, I do want to take a stab at what's happening over on the chat to see who all we have. All right, anybody new that I don't recognize? A couple people, so welcome. You know who you are. Good to see you. Grok, I like that. Um, Mr. McDoom down in the Cayman Islands. Sir, it is going to get chilly where you are. I saw you posting about that. You tagged me on the Twitter there. Even the Cayman Islands are not going to escape this. So let's take a look at what we got. All right, what's coming? Well, Ben Knoll, very good with the maps, very good with the communication when it comes to weather. He says, where should you go if you want to see snow and a chance for blizzard-like conditions this weekend? To the Carolinas, of course, where I am. How about that? Or Nova Scotia, up there in Canada, right? The Maritimes. So chances for at least 3 inches of snow through February 2nd, high in most of the Carolinas here, or especially North Carolina, and of course, very high up in the Canadian Maritimes. Medium elsewhere, some chance. I like that. You have some and then medium and high. So there's some chance. That's funny, Ben. And then a medium chance, then a high chance. So I guess it's like when your wife says, "What are the chances that you can finally get that garage thing fixed that I've been asking you to fix for 3 months?" You can say there's some chance. That's great. So yeah, this is what's potentially coming. We know that there's going to be a pretty big storm, a coastal storm. Bomb cyclone has been tossed around, and it's basically this bombogenesis deal. You might have heard that. It's a real thing, meteorologically speaking, and it's the amount that the pressure drops over a certain period of time, and we just say it bombs out. Nice bombastic word. There you go. So yes, the Ben Knoll, and then of course the National Weather Prediction Center, echoing that. And here are the key messages: heavy snow, gusty winds, and coastal impacts, especially for the Outer Banks. And then of course there are still uncertainties to this forecast because AI has not yet solved that problem. AI sometimes gives us problems to solve, doesn't it? It hasn't solved. We cannot turn to AI yet, and we just know exactly what's going to happen in 3 days. When that happens, then those companies can make trillions of dollars, I guess, because you'll be. Anyway, no, we don't have all the answers. There still are a lot of uncertainties. Ryan Maui, Dr. Maui here, Wednesday morning blizzard watch. He posted this a little while ago. Morning weather models remain consistent with the development of a bomb cyclone. Main snowfall threat right here, North Carolina, Virginia, and New England. So far, more likely that Washington, D.C. and New York City will miss out, but remain frigid. And the frigid part is definitely going to be an issue. Let me tell you, we'll get to that too, of course, as I keep making my chair come up. I'm going to have to get a zip tie and just put it right underneath where the mechanism meets the shaft there and keep this thing from sinking. It's annoying. Gravity. Yeah, this is looking pretty stout. This is the ECMWF high-res GIF animation that Dr. Maui has put from his site, theweathermodels.com. and it looks like a doozy. We can kind of freeze the animation a little bit here from time to time. So we go from the 990s to 968 to 966. I mean, that would be close to pretty solid Category 2 hurricane if it was a hurricane. So you're going to have some serious wind with this storm. Closer to where I live from the WRAL area in Raleigh, Channel 5 up there, if I remember correctly. I haven't watched regular TV in so long. Anyway, Chris Michaels, while it's about a day too soon for exact totals on a map, and that is exactly right. It's too soon. So I know that there's going to be a lot of questions, probably for me and on elsewhere in social media. How much snow am I looking at here? And again, I remind people, as curious as you may be about that, that's not the question to ask. The question to ask is, what will the impacts be overall? And I know that sounds very simplistic, but you just want to know the general part of it right now. Oh, is there a pretty good chance of a snowstorm? Yes. All right, well, then what will the snowfall totals be? We don't know yet. When will you know? Maybe the day before it happens. Why? Because it's very complicated. I'm serious. It's that simple. It is very complicated. All right. So, this is what we know about the snow chance for Saturday. So, here are some different graphics that have been put together. So, looking at it from a probabilistic, from the Weather Prediction Center standpoint, 50 to 80% chance of winter storm warning, major winter weather, pretty much all of eastern North Carolina, even from the I-77, I-85 corridor, Charlotte and points east. Pretty darn high chance above 80 east of Highway 17. And this goes on up into southeast Virginia as well. We're talking about a good chunk of South Carolina as well. So, yeah, there's that. National Weather Service, Raleigh. When do they do the winter storm warnings? 12 to 36 hours before the storm, expecting to meet that criteria, at least 3 inches of snow, and of course, hazardous conditions. The odds of snow, 1 inch or more, very high. 3 inches, kind of not quite high. 6 inches low, and a foot very low. As of today, this can change. It will change because guidance is always changing. I was explaining to somebody in the family yesterday about how, maybe it was one of my friends, doesn't matter. A lot of people ask me about the weather. So the pieces of the puzzle that make this storm happen are still entering the United States upper air network of weather observations via weather balloon, these upper air soundings. And while there are different field experiments and other things going on, Eric Webb was telling me about something that was happening in Canada that can help with this. It is really when these pieces of energy get into the lower 48 to our upper air sounding network that we can get more data. We need more data, more data, more data. The more data we can input to give these computer models a fuller plate of nutrition, if you will, to then output sensible maps that we see, they need more data. And once that energy from these storm systems enters the lower 48, that starts to happen. That is why there's so much uncertainty, even in 2026, even 3 days out. And it's going to be the same for hurricanes. I mean, look at Melissa. We didn't know exactly where that was going to make landfall in Jamaica until like the day it was happening. Small core, Category 5. Was it going to be Kingston? Was it going to be Southwest Jamaica? We just didn't know. And that was the day of. So it is hard. The weather is hard, believe me. All right, so after this passes through, it is going to be really cold all the way down into Florida. And Dylan's really been beating the drum on this. He's in Miami now. The strongest cold front since 2010. So we're talking, do the back of the napkin math, 16 years. Just joking. Mark, you have to know basic. Anyway, 16 years ago that it was this cold. Widespread record cold to South Florida Sunday morning. And this is what we're looking at as of the time Dylan posted this morning. This could even change where it could be lower. That could be higher. Key West down to 52. The record is 47 back in 1909. Fort Lauderdale, the record's 33, 66, 1966. Miami, the record low is 36. So we're going to be threatening some records dating back to a long time ago, all of those times before I was born. All right. So there's that. Now let's look at it from the perspective of the models. So there are a lot of models. Definitely. You have the ensembles, you have the national blend, you have your high res. I just want to show you this on a fairly simple to explain global model. Um, and a friend at Fox Weather texting me. And if he's watching, the answer is yes, Jordan, of course. So here comes the cat again. We need CJ on. When CJ doesn't come on with me, stuff's a little wonky. I got my chair sinking. We got the cat moving through the set. Anyway, this is the GFS, Global Forecast System, one of the main global models that we use, and we're already bumping into the 12Z, but I want to show you the 6Z because I can't just hang around for 45 more minutes waiting for the 12Z to fully load. So I'm going to show you the 6Z GFS, and we're going to compare it to the 6Z Euro. So this is your basic surface map, so to speak, showing your 6-hour average precip rate. Come on, Willow. Come on through. Let's get on with it. There's the cat. Move along. Move along. Thank you. Cats are weird, aren't they? So I just got to close the office door, but I'm trying to get some heat to come in. So this is the 6Z run, and our piece of energy really starts to get going at about day 3. You can see the little bit of a semblance of a surface low tries to get started. Let's get the telestrator back. That'll be very helpful. There we are. And let's use that one. So a little bit of an evidence of a surface low maybe over here, and then more right offshore of the southeast United States. That's important because at the surface is where you're going to throw back the moisture into the storm once it gets going. But also, you see these little dashed lines right up here? These are your thicknesses in the atmosphere. And without getting into too much of the weeds of meteorology, that's your energy in the upper levels at about 500 millibars, 18,000 feet. And that energy or vorticity combined with the surface low sitting off of Hatteras and the warm Gulf Stream helps the overall storm engine to crank up. So the more that 500 millibar energy can get involved, the more snow we're going to crank out. So as we see, overnight, Friday night into Saturday morning, the snow begins to break out over the Appalachians here. Western Piedmont of North Carolina through West Virginia, Virginia, and maybe even out on the Tidewater area. By Saturday morning, we're in full on here it goes mode. Fayetteville, Raleigh, Greensboro, all the way back to Asheville should be snowing pretty darn hard. And just looking at it verbatim, the gradient here that Levi's got set up, let's zoom into the southeast, that'll actually help. Yes, there are some of these bands that try to set up, but the model trying to figure this out 72 to 90 hours out, don't worry about that. Just look at the overall synoptic setup that we are more than likely going to have one heck of a snowstorm on our hands. And you can see these darker blues, very heavy snow over eastern North Carolina and southeastern Virginia, right up into parts of Jersey, maybe. If we back this out so we can see the eastern extent, yes, there will be some snow up the coast here to New Jersey and southeast New England, but it looks like this is going to stay enough offshore for now to spare or rob, depending on what your perspective is, the I-95 corridor. And again, that's why Ryan Maui was saying that our friends here in DC and up to New York City probably going to get left out of any major accumulation from this event. Close, but no cigar. Now, there is still time for this to come more west and bring that heavier snow closer to the I-95 corridor because this is 102 hours out. That's a long time in the world of meteorology. It really is. But instead of worrying about the exact rain snow line, or in this case, snow line, what I want you to focus on are the impacts. And what my eyes spy here, to coin a phrase, right, are these isobars packed very tight. That is a strong northeast wind blowing over the Atlantic, the Pamlico Sound, you name it. And then look at the pressure, 978 millibars, different areas of low pressure, the model trying to resolve where all that energy is going to try to bundle. And man, oh man, this is going to be a windy Big time disruptive event, especially for North Carolina. I think there's no way of getting out of it in terms of coastal impacts, maybe some coastal flooding, blizzard conditions. And remember, it's not the amount of snow, it's the visibility and the duration and the wind speeds. We could be looking at blizzard conditions for extreme eastern North Carolina as of now. This could change. It could be that the low is farther to the west and maybe it's more rain along the coast. There's still plenty of time for this to change. But what I want to show you too, going back to the beginning, look at the upper level dynamics with this. This is pretty wild. And if you know what you're looking at, lots of energy that comes through. There it is right there at about hour 72 to 84. That piece right there, a big key to this whole thing. Because out here over the ocean, you got your surface low, and then this upper level energy swings in and really helps to energize things. And depending on where that sets up and when it does, and if it can work in concert with the surface low, will determine the ceiling for how strong this storm can get. And we just don't have that resolved yet. And there's no way. It's just too far out in time. But that is remarkable. There is no doubt about it. And that piece of energy heads on out, and very cold air starts to drain in behind it. And that cold air makes it all the way down into Florida. In fact, these are your temperatures Sunday morning, your 0 Celsius or 32 degrees Celsius, which, Fahrenheit, isotherm, line of equal temperature. There you go. That's 120 hours out. Let's just back it up a little bit. So Sunday morning, very cold. And this is not a high resolution map, by the way. So you can drill even further down depending on which products you use from different model sites. But freezing at the surface, 6 feet above the ground, definitely all the way down to southern Florida in this case. And this is going to be a big problem for the citrus industry. People visiting the parks that are like, hey, we're going to Orlando, should be warm. Not so much. Going to have some big problems with this for sure. Low 20s in the northern part of the state as well. So get ready, protect your plants, your pipes, your whatever. And those iguanas, alligators, bring them in. No, don't do that. So the euro, very similar, honestly. And let's do the eastern U.S. extent. This is the 6Z run as well. Similar evolutions because we're getting close enough to they should start matching. Very large, sprawling storm system. This bombs out, but not quite as soon, it looks like, as the GFS, but still pretty healthy system. In fact, on the Euro, our friends up in New England, especially Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket, you get in on some hefty snows right there. This is Sunday afternoon. Blizzard conditions would be an absolute certainty here for eastern Long Island and eastern Massachusetts if this were to verify. Again, it's 105 plus hours out. We just don't know yet, but that's a humdinger of a storm. And if it's just a little bit further to the north and west, we get crushed in cities like Philly, New York, maybe DC. And yes, there's still time for that to happen. Lots of pieces to still get resolved as we go forward. All right, let me jump on the chat here and see what you guys are talking about. Anything, let's see. And I do want to address the cold all the way down. Yeah, right. North Carolina can't catch a break. Kathy down in Fernandina. Very cold in the western part of the state, and now this snow, there's still people living in not their houses, we'll say, in the aftermath of Helene. Nadine, the Midwest piece does look like Willow's tail. That's funny. Yep, so the temperature anomalies, that's a good point. Adam, I appreciate that. As I start to wrap things up, let's go back out and we'll look at the Western Atlantic, and that'll be right here. So let's check out the temperature anomalies. Let's see if I can find that. So that's not on this product. That's a bummer. So let's go back to the CONUS and we'll do this. The 850 millibar anomalies, very, very cold at 5,000 feet. And that very cold air makes its way all the way down to the Northwest Caribbean Sea. Absolutely. And unfortunately, they don't, this product's not available on Levi's site for the Western Atlantic. It's just a bummer. But I can show you this. Look at these wind bars. And Adam, you know this all too well, buddy. Basically, north-northwest flow coming right down, even almost northerly flow right into the Cayman Islands. Cuba, you're going to be chilly. And in fact, we can look at the 2 meter temperatures. Clear the drawings. Nope, you can't. That stinks. Come on. Oh, this is the euro. That's why. Sorry. I had to make sure I'm looking at the right model. Now we can do it. Nope, it doesn't do it for the GFS either. I guess we have to get on one of the pay sites. Appreciate Levi making this for free, but there are some limitations. Nevertheless, the 10-meter wind and even up at 5,000 feet, somewhere in here. Where are you, 5,000 feet? Oh, that's upper dynamics. Sorry. Even at 5,000 feet, all the way down to the surface, northerly flow will bring some serious cold air down to that area of the Caribbean, was what I was trying to show you here. By the way, too, let me just go back. I guess I've talked. Nope, we're at 12Z, 48 hours, not enough time. Yeah, and I got stuff I got to do here. And I volunteer at my kid's school, by the way, every Wednesday. So I always have a hard out approaching 11 o'clock. Um, but I guess I have a few more minutes. That's 13 minutes till 11. Why not just wait it out? We'll get a few more frames in of the GFS. We're up to 60 hours. And I will just look at the YouTube chat and see what you guys are asking and talking about. All right, let's do that. Um, let's see. Yep, North Atlantic map will give you the Caribbean, North region, bottom mark. Yep, so the problem was it doesn't show me my anomalies, I don't think, Adam. Let's see. So I'm going to follow what Adam was saying. North American region map, look at the bottom. So North American regional. Yeah, I just don't see. Oh, this one. Duh. Thank you. And there we go. So 850 temperature anomaly, 2 meter temperature anomaly. Thank you, Mr. McDoom. And I know he's going, Mark, it's right. Anyway, so these are your anomalies heading out to 48 hours. And if we go back to the 6Z, to our point here, myself, Dylan Federico tweeting about it. As we go forward, look at the 2 meter, that's 6 feet above the ground, anomalies, very, very cold, all the way down to Jamaica, the Dominican Republic, Cuba, and these are some of these temps -8 to 12. And are these in Celsius? Probably. Yep, below the average. So definitely going to be cold, even south where people are taking cruises to escape the cold. So appreciate you uh, pointing me in the right direction there, Mr. McDoom. And that really is his name, by the way. And in fact, if you ever go to Grand Cayman and you go see Hell, a real place, the Hell post office, all that, there's a shop there. That's the McDoom family. I'm serious. It's a pretty neat area. All right. And laugh out loud. Absolutely. So let's just wait it out a few more frames and let's see if we can get those to populate. And while we do, I'm going to jump back on my Twitter and we're going to go over to the following and we will refresh it to recent. Thank you. And let's just see if anybody's posted anything interesting in the last little bit since I've been on here. So these are always some really good diagrams by Nikhil. I think that's how you say that, I hope. The two favorite regions for snow from our weekend nor'easter are the Carolinas. Yay! This is where the upper forcing, that's what I was talking about, that 500 millibar energy will initially crash in, first bringing a wave of snow. And that's that initial snow that I showed you. In fact, we can see it on the GFS here, starting out. That first wave of snow right there, that's that upper level energy coming in that he is talking about here. And then the coastal development will be later. And I showed you that. Since southeast New England sticks out the furthest east, you don't need as much amplification. So that, as I showed you, southeastern New England, you might get clipped. But again, there is still time for this to trend back north and west enough to give the I-95 corridor a big healthy dose of snow and wind. The initial low rapidly occludes off the Carolina coast where the warm air and the cold air kind of overtake each other. And this is going to be one heck of an event to see on satellite. All right, so good stuff from there. Let's go back. And I like this 20 minutes ago. It's got to be Nikhil, right? For places like DC to New York City, it's still possible to bring snow further west, likely through amplifying the initial surface low for longer, and it honestly wouldn't take much. The issue is that we're nearing the event and there's no real model support for that to occur. And now you get an idea of all the different people that I follow, right? Fantastic waterspout in Calabria. Pretty cool. That's got to be down there in Puerto Rico. Just seeing if anything. Yep. So Matthew, never met Matthew in person. Um, an update from me and Rufus the skunk. It stinks out there. The weather in terms of good snow and rain and precip. I did a follow Friday, I believe, with Matthew at the very early part of our show. Eric Webb, 43 minutes ago, models have trended to a snowstorm over the Carolinas this weekend, thanks to a stronger, slower tropopause polar vortex that enters the U.S. in a few days. NASA's Nurture Field campaign, that's what I was telling you about. He was talking to me over text last night, some stuff happening up in Canada, likely having a measurable impact on this forecast, especially for the US based models. Very interesting stuff. And he's got a pretty good thread about it. And of course, Dylan hammering the point that the jet stream is going to dip, dip, dip. And man, you guys in South Florida, it is going to be painful for you because you're not used to it. All right, we're out at 72 hours, not quite enough, and we're running up against to where I've got to sign off in a moment. But boy, oh boy, looking like we're going to have one heck of a winter storm, especially for the Carolinas. This is valid Saturday morning. Snow breaking out, Elizabeth City, maybe towards Greenville, certainly Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, Fayetteville, maybe, Charlotte, yep, Asheville, Greensboro, you name it, all in it. Areas south and east, we will be waiting, and then the surface low starts to get going. Going to be an interesting weekend coming up for sure. So let me get back to my title screen in just a moment. And all kinds of people texting me. Pretty crazy. It's going to get busy around here. So yeah, I am going to be out covering it, obviously. And this is a home game for me. Probably going to take my kids with me, my adult kids and my not so adult kids yet. Can't waste that opportunity, especially since I don't have to get a hotel room or anything like that. So yes, this coming Saturday into Sunday, we'll be live on the YouTube streaming Sudduth Shenanigans. You'll get to see and hear all of that. So good luck. But hey, we're weather geeks. Their dad is a weather professional, so we're going to get a good snowfall, it looks like. And if it's not right here in Wilmington, we will travel to where it will be happening. But we'll talk about more on that tomorrow. Speaking of tomorrow, between tomorrow and Friday, when we wrap up this week's shows plural, first of all, CJ will be back tomorrow, so it just helps to anchor things and make them run smoothly. It's just better to have two people. But I am going to have a couple people come on from Florida to talk about preparations that need to be made and some of the things that could be happening as far as agriculture in the Sunshine State. And we will check in with our tornado historian, Jen Naramore, as well, with our checking in with Jen segment. Winter weather on the top of mind right now, but we also have to think about severe weather, and even in winter we have severe weather. So we're going to discuss some of the history, and I think she's going to be at one of the memorials there in Florida from past tornado events, because severe weather season will be here before we know it. In earnest, it's always severe weather season if you have the right dynamics. All right, I think that's about it from me for today. Time to get ready to head to the kids' school and do some volunteering for their lunch and recess time. And it's going to be chilly. Got the hoodie, got the pants. I will be prepared. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I do appreciate it. From all of us at the Hurricane Track family, I am Mark Sudduth. Looking forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Take care. We'll see you tomorrow when CJ helps to co-host. Have a great rest of your Wednesday.